child, did you have any interesting eating habits? When I was a little girl, the story that my mum used to tell me was that when I was eating my food, I kind of made food music when I was being fed. It was like yum, 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 yum. And my daughter did that too, so maybe it was genetic. I don't know. Anyway, I asked for my friends, and these are their stories from their childhoods.
Growing up, I do remember that I was obsessed with fast food. I would lay in bed at night and think, how amazing would it be if hamburgers could fall from the sky?
Ever since I was a kid, I've been obsessed with olives. I always used to sneak into the kitchen and take the jar of olives off the shelf in the fridge and just eat them, just straight out the jar.
When I was younger, I really hated anything green, as most kids would do. I hated lima beans, broccoli, asparagus. Oh, my mom would bribe me to eat all these vegetables by giving me a little white marshmallow every time I ate a Brussels sprout. So I'd eat a Brussels sprout, she'd give me a white marshmallow. That was my thing. However, I had a really big mouth, I still do, and I would actually store the Brussels sprouts chewed up on the left side of my cheek and then swallow the white marshmallows, and then I would ask to go to the bathroom at the end of the dinner table after I'd cleared my Brussels sprouts plate, and I would just spit them all into the toilet.
When I was younger, I wouldn't say I was a fussy eater. I did eat basically everything, but I did always want my favourite food ever, which was pasta, cheese and ketchup, and I used to complain if I didn't get that every night for tea.
My favourite food as a kid was probably chicken, and it still is though nowadays. I just absolutely love chicken.
My mother would make dinner every night. We would sit down and have family dinner. She would make steak, she would make shepherd's pie, she would make meatloaf, which I love meatloaf, or whatever she would make. It didn't really matter because I just wanted cereal. Like, I was so, not grateful for this lovely meal. I was always waiting, well, whenever this pork chop is done, I'm going to go get myself a bowl of Frosted Flakes.
I was never really a fussy eater as a kid, apart from when I used to dunk all of my food in tomato ketchup, no matter what it was.
When I was a kid, I used to make my mum make me 2 slices of toast. One had peanut butter on it, and one had chocolate spread on it, and then she had to cut it up into 1 centimetre by 1 centimetre squares, and cut the crusts off before I would even think about eating it.
I was quite an experimental sandwich maker when I was little. I invented the Neapolitan sandwich, a sandwich variation of the popular ice cream. It was a triptych of peanut butter, Marmite and jam.
I basically liked anything that was mushy, so I was all for the mashed potatoes. However, vegetables were not my friend.
When I was a kid, I was the unfussiest eater. Put anything in front of me and I would hoover it up. I was a kid with expensive taste though. I was quite partial to smoked salmon and cream cheese bagels.
I used to have a little Beatrix Potter Peter Rabbit plate, and I remember that I used to have to eat my dinner in order to see the bunnies playing.
If I got given a roast dinner or something, I remember having to eat things separately, so I'd eat all the peas first, and then I would have the meat, and then other things that were with it. I couldn't mix my foods together.
According to my mum, my favourite food when I was a toddler were salami sandwiches. I can also remember never liking mushrooms, because they're just slimy and rubbery and they taste gross.
Well, I was a really fussy eater when I was younger, and I would only eat yoghurt if I could have it on my pointy spoon. And I don't even know why we had a pointy spoon in the house. It's the only one. All the other spoons were normal and round, but this one was pointy, and I claimed it as my own, and I would refuse to eat yoghurt unless I could have it from my pointy spoon.
When I was a kid, I was a really fussy eater. I wouldn't go near tomatoes or mushrooms. And now I love tomatoes and mushrooms. I didn't really like vegetables as a whole, which is crazy. I used to love ice cream and pizza and chips, and well, I still do.
I just texted my mom and I asked her, Mom, when I was a kid, what was my favorite food? Because I forgot. And she messaged me back just now. She said chicken stir fry, lasagna, and a 15-bean soup, which is in a crock pot that was also had turkey necks in it, and it was made all day, and it came out to a soup, and I enjoy all of those today, at once even.
Once when I was younger, my mum made a food chart for me to have a different vegetable every day of the week, and when I did it, I got a soft toy as a prize. That was good.
I also refused to eat any meal without my Postman Pat fork. It was just this lovely silver fork with Postman Pat's face, and I couldn't eat a meal without him, so I had to bring him everywhere, the little fork in my pocket. I really miss that fork.
When I was a kid, I literally ate everything. If it was edible, I would eat it. I consumed it all.
Other experiments have included the mincemeat sandwich, a low-budget substitute for mince pies, the surprisingly tasty banana, cheese and salad cream baguette, and several Scooby-Doo style layered abominations, one of which I swear has grown sentience and currently resides on the Preseli Mountains.
When I was little, I used to call soup and sandwich boop and bandwich, and I was also obsessed with apple juice.
I had a green fork, which when I got given it as a present from my granny, I was really upset with. I was like, this is a terrible present. But I remember always using this green fork.
As a child, one of my favourite foods was chicken pie. I absolutely loved it when my mum made it, and I still like it now. I loved apple pie, I loved rhubarb, custard, anything sweet, anything chocolatey, I loved it.
Growing up, I would only ever eat pasta. I refused to have vegetables, and I also refused to have any gravy or anything wet alongside it. So whenever my mother would ask if I wanted like some sauce or something on the pasta, or anything with it, like tuna, I would refuse. I couldn't handle the fact that something wet would be on my food.
When I was younger, I used to be a ridiculously slow eater. In the time that my parents had eaten their meal and washed the pots, I'd only be a third of the way through my food.
My mum and dad would have dinner in the living room, and then me and my brother would eat in the dining room, which led to like exchanges and trades on the foods. This didn't stop my mum still coming back into the room after dinner and checking the bin. What have you left? I pretty much only ate spaghetti, and when I was given spaghetti, I used to pour it all over my head.
I don't really like to eat food that I have to chew. I prefer things like yogurts or things that I could just swallow, blended, eat soups. And because chewing to me is such an arduous task and I just don't want to do it.
My favourite meal as a child was the simple mashed potato and baked beans. It doesn't matter how wealthy you are, you cannot buy the happiness that comes with having a plate of that in front of you.
Most of us, when we were children or babies, were fortunate enough to have enough food to eat. But sadly, that's not the case for everyone. Every hour, nearly 300 children die from malnutrition. 1 in 8 people go to bed hungry. My son Charlie and I are going to Africa on Saturday to promote the IF campaign. I'd love it if you could follow me on my journey. But most of all, could you please sign the petition in the information below? We can put pressure on governments to change this. The G8 summit is later this year. All our voices together can make one big voice and say that hunger, world hunger, needs to stop now. If you'd like to help more, please make a video response, join our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you. Bye.
Please just take a couple of minutes of your time to sign a petition. You can find the link down in the description below. I find it hard to believe that world hunger is something that still exists in 2013, but together we can help combat it and hopefully put a stop to it once and for all.